Hello, hello. What's going on, everyone? How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. And welcome to another weekly download. My name is Mitchel Dumlao, and I'm so happy that you're here with me today. And you can hear that I'm pretty sick. I got sick over the weekend. I was in LA for a commercial shoot, and it was super busy. So my immune system said, I am not going to work this weekend. I'm going to take a break, and that's why I'm sick. But anyways, today we're going to talk about a very important subject for 2023, and it's how to transfer and also upload your footage or your data onto the cloud or hard drive so your post-production process runs seamlessly. And why it's important for 2023 is that everyone is working remotely, okay? If not for your production company or your videographer or whatnot, people like to work remotely. At the same time, a lot of editors, you can start hiring editors that are not necessarily in your state or in your city. It could be all over the world if you want to. And so you have to figure out how to transfer your footage and also upload it and send it and then download it so that your editors and your vendors like your colorist or your sound mixer can download it and have the proper quality for them to work with the files. Now, this is something that I've been dealing with for the past couple years, but recently it's been huge just because I'm working with another production company and we're dealing with commercial productions and broadcast commercials that have very high quality footage. We're shooting on the Aries. We're having 1.5 terabyte shoots, and to upload it to a G drive or Google Drive or a WeTransfer, and then having an editor trying to download 1.5 terabytes is not possible if you want to get this done quickly. Because if you try to download 1.5 terabytes of raw footage, it's going to take days. And so there's a lot of different things that I've found in the past couple weeks and also just the past year about transferring, uploading, and just sharing data with your editors, your vendors, and also production companies and your clients, whoever it is, so people can download them easily. Now, of course, the first couple examples are going to be the cloud platforms like Dropbox and WeTransfer or Box.com. There's so many out there. And these are great if you are transferring files that are lower than 1 terabyte or even 500 gigabytes, because it's going to really depend on the download speeds of your editor or of your vendors or of your team who want to download this footage. Now, when you're using these services, you have to usually, of course, pay for these services, and then you have limits. WeTransfer, Dropbox, and Box, they have limits. And so if you have a production company, you need to have at least 10 terabytes or 5 terabytes if you plan to be in here for the long run. And there's been several different ways that I've actually approached this, where if you have a cloud platform like a WeTransfer, Dropbox, or Box, you should be transferring or sending proxy files to your editor so that when they do edit the actual footage, then they're working with lower res transcodes or files that aren't the full res footage files, so that they can download it quicker and their computers can handle it better. And at the same time, once they're done, you can either send them or ship them a hard drive, or they can send you the project file, and then you or your team can then link and conform all of the original full res clips with that project file. All right, now I know that if you're just new to this process, that might be a little bit confusing, but if you are an editor, you should be working with proxies and proxy files. That I've done a whole series on that. I'll explain that later, but it's basically taking your full res files and then transcoding it so that it becomes low res files, so that you can either download it quicker or you can store it on your editing drive, and then you can actually work with a file that your editing software can work with. If you're working with raw RED files or RE files or even raw MP4s, it's actually better for your computer if you have a Mac to work with ProRes. And so why this all comes back to the cloud is that your cloud can be two different types of use cases. It could either be your storage space, so that it could be the backup to your hard drive, your physical hard drive backups, or it could be the place that you actually send files to your editor in order for them to edit remotely, right? So it really depends on how you use the clouds. If I were just starting out, I really would just use the clouds or WeTransfer, Dropbox, and Box as a way to work with editors remotely or would share, clips with clients. But trying to, store a lot of data on a cloud can get pretty expensive. Now, for me, I use Google Drive. Now, I got grandfathered into Google Drive back in 2014 and 15 when I signed up for the original Google Suite and I got unlimited space. I don't think it's really easy to come by these days. So I have unlimited space on Google Drive. And so I use it as my backup, also as a place to share footage and share clips and share files with editors and my client. And so when it comes to something like Google Drive and as well as WeTransfer, Dropbox, and Box, you have to think about the upload speed that you have or whoever is uploading the video, the files have for the time and also the amount of your schedule. If you have to deliver in 3 days and it takes you 2 days to upload and then your editor takes 4 days to download, you need to find a way to actually increase the speed of post-production and also save time and not have to wait in front of your computer while it uploads all your footage. And so what I found is that you can actually do a two-step process of if you had a shoot and you have a DIT or someone on set who's handling the footage, they could be on set. They can, of course, download the footage from the DP and the camera op, and then they put it onto a very fast SSD. When they put it on a fast SSD, transfer times are quicker and it's easier for you to transport to the editor or the post house. Now, the editor and post house, they can then take that drive and then copy it onto their editable drive, or you have to make a copy so that you have a copy and then the editor has the copy. So that way there's a redundancy. And if some drive actually, fails, then you at least have another drive. Then if you want to make a third copy, then you can take that second copy or the copy that your DIT has, and you can place it on a Google Drive or WeTransfer, Dropbox, or Box, and leave it for a day or two uploading. Right. This way, you have the editor has the footage they need to start editing, and then you could just keep the files in the background uploading. This way, you can actually start the edit without waiting for upload times or download times. Right. So that's kind of the process that I've seen is really useful. Now, when it comes to again download speeds, you got to think about the download speeds of your editor and your vendors out there. So if you're sending sound mixes, right, OMF files, they can be, pretty heavy. They could be 30 gigs, 40 gigs. So really consider, how you are transferring these to your editors and your vendors in post-production. So you can do, again, SSD drives, thumb drives, flash drives, whatever it is. This is the way that you're going to be making sure that everything is actually sent correctly, so you're not dealing with missing files and people who have, really slow internet connections. Now, so when it comes to this whole process, this is why you should get a post producer. If you're doing this by yourself, it's great to have all the raw files on your end. But at the same time, you're going to need the project files from your editor so that you can keep a copy for future edits that your client wants to make. And even if you need to make future edits a few months down the line. Okay, this depends on your relationship with your client, right? So if your editor is editing, make sure that they upload their most updated project files when they're done or throughout the process. Same thing goes with the whole, color correction process and the sound mixing process, or even VFX. You don't necessarily need those project files, but you should also keep a copy, of course, of the colored files, the sound mixes, and all the VFX shots, right? So down the line, if you do need to re-edit this video for a client, they pay you to re-edit a year from now, you can open up the project file and you have everything you need to get things done. All right. And I, again, think that you should put that onto a Google Drive and also a hard drive so that you have everything backed up. Now, I know all of this can be, a little confusing, and some people actually use frame.io as a place to store footage and stored files. I don't really think that's the best way, but I've seen people do that. And people can store zip files, PDFs, as well as OMF files or whatnot on frame.io within your frame.io folder so that it can be the same place that your client gives you notes, as well as the same place that you share files with your editor and your vendors in post-production. That's another way you can do it. It just gets expensive because you have to, again, pay for your storage. And for me, another way that you can actually create a cloud-based system or even an FTP, old school, is actually having your own server or having your own FTP site or a place where you can customize. When you use WeTransfer, Dropbox, and Box, and Frame.io, and Google Drive, it has their branding on top of it. So you can actually create your own server or your own FTP drive, or at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of hard drives or storage space in a physical location that you can actually access through the internet. Therefore, you can brand it yourself, and then you can have this, Either it's a beautiful UX design or a beautiful platform with your logo on it, the clients can go to download their footage or download their deliverables or whatever you want to share with your clients. That way you skip all the other branding from other platforms and cloud services, right? So setting that up is a whole process. Okay, I don't want to go into it because I'm not really technical in that aspect, but you can create your own server or your own set of hard drives that you can access using a remote desktop or through the internet through different ways, right? There's so many different types of ways to do that. I wouldn't want to dive into it right now just because it's a whole other video, but consider that as an option. So let's say that you would rather keep all your hard drives physically in one place. From a shoot, you transfer all your footage into a hard drive, and on that hard drive, you can then copy it into your server or to your main, hub where you store all your files, and then you can either send that hard drive after it's done copying to your editor, or you can use that server to create a platform or a page where you can actually send a link to your editor or your client or your post-production vendors so they can access the files that they need to get work done or view for the deliverables, right? So a lot of this really comes down to how much money you want to spend or how the kind of process that you want to take, because a lot of people use different types of processes, because the old school way of doing it, honestly, is just having physical hard drives. And physical hard drives, again, you can make it so that it's accessible through the internet. So you can, have a remote desktop, or you can connect it to a network and an FTP site so that you can, log in another location or another state or country. And then you can also share files that that other people can access through a link, or you can just do it old school, right? Old school way is that you get the footage from the shoot, it gets transferred onto a hard drive. You then transfer it onto your storage drives, right? And then you keep a copy. And then from there, you can take that physical hard drive that you use from the shoot, or you can make another copy on an editable, hard drive, or on a cheap hard drive that you can send to your editor. Therefore, your editor can then use that hard drive to then work remotely. This cuts the downloading and uploading times. And also at the same time, it makes sure that the files are, I would say it keeps its integrity. I think that if you use a hard drive, for me, it just keeps the integrity of the files. Yes, it's the same if you use a cloud or whatnot, but using a cloud, there's different ways that it can corrupt the files. I've been through this, trust me. Because a lot of uploading, if you're uploading a lot of files, sometimes the files get corrupted. Same thing with the download. It just gets very confusing for some folks because internet speeds or whatnot. So doing the hard drive way is just simple, and you have everything on a hard, tangible drive, right? So you send that to your editor. When your editor is done, they need to send it to the colorist. Then they can either send the drive back to you. You handle the whole coloring process, or they handle the coloring process. And then after color, sound, all is done, they send it back to the editor. They save it on that drive. They deliver the final videos for you and the client. And then from there, they can send the drive back to you. And then you have a physical drive that has the whole project files and the raw footage. That you can use those files, transfer them to your storage drive where your other copy of the raw files are. And there you have, the finished project file with the deliverables and the colored files, VFX files, sound mixes, and your raw footage and the Premiere project file, maybe the After Effects file, all in your backup storage. All right. That's a lot. I know that sounds a lot, but I think a lot of folks out there, if you are a videographer or a video production company, you're dealing with this right now. And I'm dealing with it from my own company and also with other production companies that have commercial productions. They're dealing with 1.5 terabytes, 2 terabytes, right, of footage, and at the same time having to access those project files from a year ago in order to create new cut downs or new versions or, repurpose that content a year later, right, from the client. And so it's very important that you have access to those original project files and it all syncs up and conforms correctly so that you can access that project and edit that project a year from now without having any troubles. Okay. So that is different ways that you can store and transfer data remotely. I know that was a lot, but I think that it's very useful, especially for you, if you are an editor, post-production house, production company, or even just a videographer looking for ways to work remotely or work with other people's remotely, right? So hopefully that was helpful. Again, my name is Mitchell Dumlao. This is the weekly download on Video Content School. And if you like this video, please like, comment, or share this with anyone you think would find this helpful. And if you have any questions or want me to talk about anything else, please leave a comment below or send me an email at mitchell@videocontentschool.com. Thank you so much for watching.